We are joined today by Senator Christine Drazan, who is running again for governor. Senator, thank you so much for joining us. We've been having these interviews because we want to give our supporters a chance to hear from the candidates speak directly to Eastern Oregonians. Eastern Oregonians, as somebody who grew up on this side of the mountains, we're a small percentage of the state, even though we make up such a huge landmass and as far as the footprint. There's just not that many of us. And so we often are ignored and overlooked. So thank you for joining me. Will you just give us give us your pitch? Why are you the best candidate for governor for those of us out here in central, southern, and eastern Oregon?
Yeah, I'm from here. I am Oregon. It's the Oregon story is my story. I was born in Klamath Falls. My parents were raised in Merrill, high school sweethearts. My dad worked in the mills until they shut down. And that childhood, growing up with the instability of being dependent on natural resource-based economies at a moment when they were being attacked by extremists and the politicians weren't standing up for us, that is my Oregon story. That's where I come from. That's why I got interested in politics in the first place, was this idea that politicians are out for their own and they don't care about us. And they just talk to us when it's time to get elected and they disappear. And they go, bump their 401ks and play in the stock market and do all the things that leave us behind. And I didn't know if that was true or not. I really didn't. And so I decided to work in the legislature fresh out of college. I had the opportunity to be the chief of staff to the majority leader and the speaker of the House. Republicans had majority control then. And I worked for a guy named Ray Baum, was my first boss out of La Grande. He's an attorney out there. And I had the chance to see for myself what it was all about, why it mattered. And I came away from that 8 years later, intended to only be there for 6 months, but 8 years later, I really believe so strongly that people that come to their legislators deserve to be heard, not just lip service, not just talk, but action on behalf of the people of this state. And when I was able to be there with Republican majorities, we saw that. They were doing everything they could to fight for Oregon. It's changed now that we have super majorities, now that Democrats are in charge. And running for my state rep seat was an opportunity to fight for the Oregon I love. Running for governor was an opportunity to have a vision for the future that's super simple. I want Oregon to be the best place in the nation to live and to work and raise your family and get a world-class education, start a business and grow your business. That's not today, but it can be. And I am the best person for this job because I am equipped for it. I am able to toe the line and do the hard thing. I'm the only House Republican leader that's ever led a walkout. I stopped cap and trade through a walkout. I am the only House Republican leader that's ever killed one of Tina Kotek's priorities on the floor. It doesn't happen every day. It only happens with somebody that understands how the systems work, how processes work, and can build the kind of loyalty and coalition that can be effective. And I have shown that I can do that. And I am here for you. I'm here for the people of this state. I'm willing to do this again. This is the thing, is I'm not running for Oregon governor because it's fun to run for Oregon governor. It's actually brutal. And primaries are the absolute worst. They are a whole bunch of people that have a whole lot in common for how they look at the world, but huge differences in our capacity to actually deliver what we're promising. Like, we're all promising about the same stuff. I'm going to defend your Second Amendment rights. I'm going to work to make sure that you guys can actually manage your wolf populations. I'm not just going to stop at compensation and assume that these wolves should be eating up your business. We have to be able to manage these populations. We can't just throw money at this. And a lot of people are promising a lot of things. I'm the only one on these group of people that are running right now that has a track record that's actually delivered in the top priorities that matter to Oregonians. And I'm the only one that can deliver as governor of the state of Oregon. If we get the chance to get a Republican governor for the first time in over 40 years, we want somebody that can hit the ground running on day one. We don't want somebody that is trying to figure it out. and doesn't understand how this stuff operates and doesn't understand what they can and cannot do and where to go to get it done. I do. I do understand that stuff. And so while I respect the fact that there's a lot of people out there that want to be a part of change, we should all want to do everything we can to be a part of change. All of us should feel that way. And I know many of us do. I am the only one that can deliver on these promises. Everybody else is untested. They haven't been through the fire, and we have no idea what their capacity is to compete against Tina Kotek, let alone to deliver in the governor's office. So I'm grateful to be in this race. I'm asking for support across the state. I need it. I want it. We want a movement.
Yeah. So thank you for that answer. So one of the things that you talked about, and this is, so I'm a lifelong Oregonian as well. I grew up in Bend and lived on both sides of the state. And so I remember this time you're talking about when we would have like, a Democratic governor, but you had a Republican legislature and there was representation for rural conservative people. That has changed. Like, as you said, that no longer exists. The Portland metro area is such a behemoth and votes so partisan in one direction that our legislature is super majorities of Democrats. We have had Democratic governors. We don't have any representation. I mean, we have people, but they don't have the power to actually do much in our, for us in the legislature. So that being said, did we lose you?
No, I'm here.
Okay.
Did I
Okay.
freeze?
Great. Yeah. Sorry. That this is this is one of the things of living in rural Oregon is that your internet connections are not always like they are in the city. But what I was saying is now that our state is no longer this kind of purplish, 50-50, you've got the rural representation and the urban representation. Instead, we're kind of dominated by the Portland metro area. How do you plan to govern a state like that for the benefit of people? Eastern Oregon's incredibly conservative. We vote 70% plus Republican. We have very traditional conservative values, the people out here, and it's overwhelming. But the Portland metro area is just as kind of partisan in the other direction. How do you plan to govern those two groups of people in a state that is so polarized and partisan?
I operate from a position of respect. I am, excuse me, I need water this morning. I am a person of faith, and that expresses itself in political terms is that I treat people with respect. I don't assume that everybody looks at the world the way I do or that everybody's lived the life I've lived. And I will start with respect. I'll offer it, I'll expect it. And I think that that's a decent place to be able to listen to people and give them the opportunity to listen and understand where I'm coming from. But the reality of governing a state that does have real divides, like we have real philosophical, cultural, like expectations. We have very real divides here. Having a Democrat legislature really does create the opportunity with a Republican governor for people to actually receive a balanced version of their own government, where we're going to have some wins, they're going to get some wins, because that's going to be how it has to play out. We've got to balance the budget together. I will propose a budget, and they will pass a budget. I will veto what I don't like. I will sign what I do, and we'll keep negotiating until we get it settled. That's how it's going to go, because that's how our system is structured. And I think that is going to benefit Oregonians. I'm not going to allow the government to grow, double in 10 years. I'm not going to allow that to happen. I'm not going to raise taxes as a solution. Tina Kotek's solution to everything has been to regulate it and tax it. If she sees a problem, she wants to regulate it and tax it. And when I see a challenge, I'm going to solve for it with the money that we have available to us. And I'm going to view it like government has a limited role here. And that role should be effective, accountable, and transparent. But we can't be all things to all people. The answer is going to be no. That's not what we've been living under up until now. And frankly, the people that do have, extremely different views of the world than I do, they still have the opportunity to be adequately represented by their own state representative and their own senator. We still have people serving in the legislature that are Socialist Democrats of America, and that's not going to change. But having a Republican governor allows us to temper their level of power over our lives because I will veto their bad ideas. They won't be able to enact them at a whim. And that helps everybody. The way that it needs to be balanced out right now is in our favor. I don't have to accommodate their extraordinary power from the last 40 years and sustain that and advance that. That's not my job. I don't have to facilitate the ongoing demise of the state that I love. I'm not there for that. I'm there to stop that. And that's how we begin to recover. That's how we begin to heal, frankly. That's how we begin to heal the divide, is to share power and for Eastern Oregonians to have actual power, not just lip service, not just, hey, I've got an open door. Hey, you can have a seat at the table. I'll come out and have one meeting, but actual ability to say, this is what I need, and have a governor that is going to say, let's get that done.
Yeah, so I think that, like, so we've been going to people for 5 years and asking them if they want to change their state governance, and we've won in all these counties, and what it is it's people that are saying we are tied to the Portland metro area, which clearly has all the power in our state, and the governance that's coming out of the Portland metro area is not tolerable to our communities, and to the point where we would consider changing state lines, something that hasn't happened in 170 years, to get better governance. You talked about being able to veto things. Do you have? I think part of those of us in Eastern Oregon, we feel like we need autonomy. We need to be able, our communities are different. We are nothing like the Portland metro area. The Portland metro area, most voters there have no idea what our communities are like, or what our values in our communities are like, or what it's like to live in a rural place. How do we get more autonomy? Do you have any plans as governor to give Eastern Oregon counties or Eastern Oregonians more autonomy over the policies that actually affect where we live?
Yeah, I absolutely am committed to restoring local control, respecting local control. There's no statewide thing that's going to happen here where we shove a climate agenda down your throats and the costs associated with it and the mandates associated with it. I'm going to tear up Tina Kotek's executive orders. So these rules that she's been drafting, the agency movement that she's been making to try to push our state into an economy and a future that doesn't work for Eastern Oregon, just as one example, just as one simple example. I'm going to take that burden off of our state because it doesn't make sense. It's not the right fit. It's not our duty and obligation to crush families in our economy because Tina Kotek has had a political agenda around climate for years. So that's one example of many. There absolutely are so many opportunities to allow for these home rule places to actually have some home rule again.
Yeah. So that, I mean, that would be fantastic. I think that's been part of what's been missing and why people are so frustrated with Oregon government is that everybody kind of understands that policies that might make sense for Multnomah County don't make any sense for Wheeler County or Baker County. Yet those happen, and statewide mandates come down, and then when our counties want to act in our own interests, there's a fear of government, state government coming down on us. We saw this a lot with COVID, where the people over here in Eastern Oregon, there was a lot of counties in Western Oregon where the people were happy to not go to school and happy to shut down their businesses and restaurants, and they, that was okay. Over here in Eastern Oregon, that was not the case. People were furious. They wanted their restaurants open. They wanted their businesses open. We wanted to go to church, all these things. But you had our county elected leaders who are mostly, they're all conservative essentially, because that's who we elect over here. We're very fearful of the Oregon Health Authority or any kind of state government coming in and punishing us if we did what was actually in the best interest of our people. So I think, even just having a Republican governor in place that says, hey, if your county needs to do something for the benefit of your people, I'm not going to, I'm not going to punish you. I'm not going to withhold state dollars. I'm going to support local elected officials taking action that benefits their communities. So one more question. We're running out of time, and this has been awesome and great. And I thank you again for giving us 20, 25 minutes. But one of the other issues for Eastern Oregonians again, we make up like 9% of our state's population. And so we're the by far the most conservative people in our state, but we're a minority. We're a very, very small number. So when statewide ballot measures come up, we essentially have no control over what happens to them. We vote, but we sit back here in Eastern Oregon and we wait to see what the metro area does as to whether this awful statewide policy is going to get forced on us into our communities. So, perfect example, Measure 110, this urban idea that was a horrible idea, but the voters in Oregon passed it. Every county in Eastern Oregon voted against it. Same thing, Measure 114, every county voted against it. Yet this policy gets forced into our communities. How do you protect? Because that's something. There's a when you're a minority population, when you are outnumbered, you need protections that the majority doesn't need. So the Portland metro area never has to worry about the people of Baker County forcing policy into their communities that they don't want. That's not a concern. It can never happen because there's just not enough people over here to do that. But the reverse is not true. That we have to constantly worry about what the voters in Multnomah County are going to force into our communities. How do you plan to protect us? What sorts of things can you do as governor that would protect us from this bad policy? Like, for instance, we have like IP28, and I know people are like, oh, that's crazy. But there's lots of things, ideas that come out of the Portland metro area that people initially say that's crazy. And 5 years later, they're passing them and forcing them on the rest of the state. How do you plan to protect us from some of these bad ideas and these bad decisions of metro voters?
The first thing is that people need to think about the math differently. We have 32% of every voter across our state is a Democrat. Only 32%. That number has declined from 4 years ago. They have lost vote share. Well, and within that 32%, absolutely, they have grown more and more extreme, more and more outrageously Socialist Democrat of America. There's no doubt that party has gotten absolutely more outrageous. But the number of people that are leaving the Democrat Party has been significant, and that creates an opportunity for all of us. It creates an opportunity for all of us to recognize that your votes in Baker County matter. In the last race for governor, I lost by 66,000 votes. 126,000 Republicans didn't vote at all. At all. And so while Portland is shoving stuff down our throats and they are voting extreme as a block, the rest of the state to continue to hold on to this idea that we can't ever win is not just unhealthy for all of us because we need your voices, but it's not factually accurate. When we show up, we have the power to change outcomes because Democrats are operating from a position of a minority as well. I mean, you're a minority in Baker County, you're a minority in Eastern Oregon. They're a minority in Portland. The real majority in the state of Oregon is whoever can hold all their people and then actually convince non-affiliated voters that their approach is the best approach. And that's what elections are for. That's what this is about. I will absolutely defend and be an absolute champion for rural Oregon, period, every single day I'm in office. It's in my DNA. It's a part of who I am. And there is no universe where I am not from small towns. That is who I am. And so that's just built into how I'm going to serve, which means I'm going to be looking for opportunities to strengthen your communities. I'm going to be looking for opportunities for you to have local control. I'm going to be finding ways to pull the statewide regulations back. And in the governor's office, there will be significant opportunities to do that through regulations, through executive orders, through budgeting. You guys are going to get the piece of the pie that you deserve for infrastructure and investment and strengthening your communities. That's a very real opportunity. But it's so important that people in the rural parts of the state know they can win. You can win. Because what we're talking about right now is so common sense. It's not partisan at all. It is our state's broken. What we've been doing isn't working. We need to have some people in charge that know what they're doing, that believe in expertise and merit, and hiring to actually achieve outcomes, to be outcome driven, not agenda driven, but outcome driven. And that's what I'll do as governor. And we need every single voice across our state, in particular in rural Oregon, to know this is your time, this is your chance, this is your year. Please, please, please. I mean, they don't have to cheat if we don't even get on the field and play. We have got to stand up and fight.
Yeah, so that's a great lead into our last question, Senator. Is that my last question for you? Is that the people of Eastern Oregon have kind of made this calculation? A lot of us, not everybody, but a lot of us have kind of made this calculation that being tied to the Portland metro area moving forward is not a good idea. Like that long term, that's a bad idea for people in Eastern Oregon. If we want to preserve our way of life, preserve our values, preserve our communities that our families built, and we've lived here for generations. If we want to preserve that, we can't be tied to the Portland metro area, and that's why people have been voting and saying, hey, we got to get separated from them. We got to get under the state level governance of Idaho. Do you obviously don't believe the time for that kind of change is now. But do you support the idea of people being able to vote and say, we want to change our state governance. We no longer want to be associated with this group of people that don't share our values, and we want self-determination the way our people want, not the way people that live hundreds of miles away want us to live?
I think that our system has to serve the people. And you guys are engaging in a process that's available to you, that's appropriate and proper for you to pursue. There is a way to get this done. You guys are going through those steps. You're pursuing it. And I absolutely respect your right to do that. Breaks my heart. Breaks my heart. I want Oregon to be whole. I want for everybody across my state to feel like they can thrive and their best future is here. And I would also say Idaho is not heaven. They've got their own problems. Boise is becoming more and more like Bend every single day, and people are finding it, and people are going there. And in the same way they can do remote work out of Bend, they can do remote work out of Boise, and they can do remote work out of Eagle, Idaho. And they're changing that state as well. It's on a slower trajectory. They're not quite there yet. They're not Oregon and Colorado yet. But no matter where you go, you have to fight for your future. You have to fight for your future. And I respect the fact that you guys are doing that you said this is available to us. We're going to get after it. But I'd also ask you, as long as you're still here, to stand with me and fight for the future of Oregon, because I believe with every fiber of my being that we can do that this election cycle, that this is the year for us to broken and to win.
Well, I can tell you with great confidence that the people of Eastern Oregon will show up, and we are fighters, and we do fight for our communities, and we will show up, and we're really conservative, and we will, I think everybody in Oregon knows they can count on Eastern Oregonians to provide a very right-leaning vote share. Senator Drazan, thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. If you got anything last words you want to say, now's your time. But otherwise, good luck, and look forward to talking down the road.
Yeah, thank you, Matt. I just want to encourage everybody to vote by May 19th. And I really, really would be honored to have your support. So thanks for the opportunity. Thanks for the time. And thanks for all your good work.